always ends up just being literally perfect for the situation. Call it serendipitous or whatever you guys want to call it, but um, it's been fascinating to see what people come out of the woodwork. And this one was interesting. So I had no intent. 30 days ago, I had absolutely no idea who was going to be on the panel. That's how I roll. And I had put some feelers out. Was talking to some people. And Jake, a member here at the gym, was like, "Hey, I know someone that would be interested for this." And so he put me in a quick group chat and sent me his Instagram profile, and I resonated with his message pretty significantly. And the theme for the two keynote speakers is how to create attention, meaningful attention, tell a story that's worth telling, and then turn it into revenue. Me as an entrepreneur, social media is cool, but I've done the ups and downs of getting into social media, spending all my time in it, but it doesn't really move the needle for me on the revenue side. It's like it doesn't. Often I get more obsessed with the views and the metrics than I do about the output back to me. And as an entrepreneur, small businesses, like I have to make sure I move the needle every single day. And so it's not meaningful. So I turned off social media and I just went to paid ads. And I was just doing the typical business transaction, getting business in, and it works. It's social media, got it, cool. Grabbing all the consumers and sending them to my business. But there is something about that we'll talk about of like telling your story and the wins and the losses and being an authentic self, that if you don't share it, you're kind of being a selfish person, right? Like people deserve to see the ups and the downs of your life and your entrepreneurship journey. And typically my ego has gotten in the way over the last couple of years of like, I want to show them me on this mountaintop of how successful things are, but like that's not impactful for anybody. It's the journey that's getting there. And something that's been resonating with me recently is like, you can promise the outcome, right? Like if I show them on a mountaintop, here's my outcome. If you do all this hard work and work really hard and do all these kind of things, your outcome could be this. But like you can't promise the outcome that anybody's gonna have, but you can't promise that if they go on this journey, they're gonna receive an outcome and they get to interpret that outcome for what they're going to interpret it. And so through this, Jake introduced me to Bennett, and Bennett hits me up, and I was like, dude, your content's amazing. And so he flew out here, and now I'm trying to convince him to move here because he's a pretty cool dude. So without further ado, Bennett Looper, come on up, brother.
Thanks, sir.
All right, and as you guys know, this is totally unscripted. I have no idea where I'm going with this. I like to emulate like Kill Tony of like, I have like a couple bullet points that I want to do. I want to throw a couple of jokes in there, but like I want us to go through the journey of this conversation together. Ben and I did have the opportunity to do a podcast earlier, which I feel was really interesting, and I want to bring some cliff notes out. But first, like Bennett, give us an introduction of like who you are. Also, congratulations on hitting 100,000 followers literally yesterday. That's freaking
Sign.
well, he's coming to Austin, man.
Welcome to 100K in Austin, so I guess that's a sign.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for having me. I am a filmmaker turned creative entrepreneur, which is kind of a crazy concept for me. I was a filmmaker for the last 5 years, and so it's cool to be in a room with a bunch of heavy hitters, really, because I'm a creative first. And I'm just now kind of dipping my toe into this world of entrepreneurship, which is really just learning a new skill, which is what I'm all about. So if you're familiar with the fitness world at all, I spent the last 4 years, or I guess the previous 4 years before this past year, working for this guy named Rich Froning. He's like the Tom Brady of CrossFit, basically like the pioneer of a lot of the fitness industry as we know today. But I spent 4 years behind the camera telling his company's story. So I spent 4 years as a filmmaker, and eventually I turned the camera around on myself. And I've changed my life coming from filmmaking and turning around and telling my story from the opposite perspective. So that has really changed my perspective. And being a filmmaker first has really affected the way that I'm able to articulate and tell my story. So now I come alongside creators and other individuals who want to tell their story, the first step is always practical. People come to me and they want to elevate the quality of their content. They see my content and they say, Bennett, your content is beautiful. It looks so aesthetic. How can I create aesthetically appealing content? But the real problem is not really the quality of their content, it's the message and how they're conveying it. So that's where I come in.
So you're an expert storyteller, fair to say.
Yeah.
What does like writing a good story mean to you? Like, is it protagonist, antagonist. You have a journey you're bringing them on. Like I know you've been on the Yap content recently. Like it in a perfect world, if I could share the same good story, like how do I build a story for myself?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So when I was behind the camera, I realized that the best way, so just to give you some context, I did a lot of documentary style filmmaking where from behind the camera, I had to interact with the subject. So a lot of times it was athletes. So I would go up to athletes and I'd have these conversations with them. So I was essentially directing the narrative of the story by interacting with the subject. And I learned very quickly, I'm a natural introvert, right? Even the term networking is, when I first started doing this, I was like, networking? What, I'm gonna have to talk to people? But when I started filmmaking, I had to master the art of conversation. I had to not only master the art of conversation, but master it from behind the camera because people are extremely uncomfortable when you put a camera in their face, right? So not only do you have to be good with words, but you have to be winsome. You have to talk to them in a way that makes them feel comfortable. And so I had to master the art of conversation. And how do you have a good conversation? You ask questions, constantly asking questions. Simple questions. What are you doing today? Why are you doing this? Like, what brings you here today? And so I realized that if I could tell a good story by asking someone questions, it's so funny, you talk about curiosity. Curiosity is the root of all storytelling. So if I can take those questions and flip them around on my life, that's how I'm going to tell my story.
My ADHD is going crazy. Soccer is such a soft sport that even the refs get hurt, which is wild. Let's dive in. He's got a cramp to go into overtime. Worst part about soccer is past the 90-minute mark. It's like, this is completely made up. There's no rules. This is wild. So when we're talking, like, leading with curiosity, when I said that to you on the phone, I gave him like a quick snippet of like who I am and like some of my mottos and like how I typically, my interview style, like lead with curiosity, not judgment. To me, that means like curiosity is love, judgment is hate. Like judgment is condemning, curiosity is enlightening, empowering, and humanizing. And so curiosity is so important, but when creating content, so there's two kind of contents that you just talked about, which is interviewing people and then putting yourself behind the camera and doing like that. The influencer type, I'm talking to just a camera. How do you lead with curiosity when you're talking to yourself? Like,
That's a good question.
I've never asked that question before. That's an interesting question.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, the way I kind of stumbled onto this framework, I call it like the curiosity framework, right? Like you have to be curious, is everyone wants this content strategy. Everyone wants the perfect system laid out to make sure that their content is systemized. I deal with a lot of type A people that want the plan. They want the method. I want to post this on Wednesday, this on Thursday, and I want it laid out for me. And the biggest problem that I hear is I don't know what to post, and I feel like if I post a bunch of things, it's just gonna be random, right? It's just gonna be random. If I have a topic I want to talk about, I'm interested in this, I'm interested in that, and if I just post these different interests, it's gonna be random. And my position is you don't need a content strategy, you need a set of core beliefs. And so when asking questions about yourself, if a piece of content is answering one of those questions about yourself, it's the volume of that work over time that's going to tell your story. And so I always like to draw the example of like The Office, right? When you watch The Office, if you take an episode out of context, it stands alone, right? You can watch it, you can enjoy it, you don't have to watch it in conjunction with a series, but it's the volume of all of those episodes over the course of nine seasons, yeah. That's what makes the story of The Office, and it's the same way when you approach your social media. If every single piece of content is answering something about yourself, and those questions that I always ask myself is, who are you? Where are you going? What are you about? And why are you doing what you're doing? And if a piece of content answers one of those questions, that's how you tell your story. And it's the volume of that over time that conveys your message.
So there's a big, like for me, when I post content, like I often I want to come off as the most authentic version of myself. And I feel like I've done a pretty good job of that. Getting the 10,000 reps of just yapping in front of a camera and telling a story, and just being willing to like include the likes and the ums and the buts and all those kind of things. You're gonna say them, you say them in public anyways. How do you create authenticity in your videos?
Well, first of all, reps. And when we talked about this in the podcast, nothing works until you do. As cheesy as that sounds, it's like you're not going to get better until you just do the damn thing. And that takes sucking. You're going to suck. Like, you're going to be weird, you're going to be cringe, People are gonna see your content and they're gonna be like, damn, that guy's really trying to be an influencer. And I've gotten all of those comments before. We talked about this too on the podcast. The art of conversation, I try to replicate that in how I talk in my videos. And because of that, I always have the position that you need to be speaking to someone every single time you turn on the camera. Every time you start rolling, you have to have a specific person in mind that you're talking to. It's different for everyone, regardless of what you do in your business. It could be your target customer. It could be, a friend, like your mom or something like that. But have that person in mind. Is for me, right? I talk a lot about self-improvement. I talk a lot about taking risks. I talk a lot about putting yourself in being in uncomfortable situations. And so for me, I'm talking a lot of times to my younger self, right? Younger Bennett, who couldn't take risks, who couldn't do uncomfortable things. And so when I'm speaking, I am speaking to that version of myself that is now grown. And if I went through those things, someone else has as well.
Easy practical steps, and then I want to jump into a fun little journey. But so for those that are listening right now, I've always been like, I want to get the new camera and I want to get the microphones. I have to get perfect. Like realistically, my iPhone has a better camera than most cameras that I've had in the last 10 years. What's a perfect setup for like the starter that's going to shoot I'm in the car talking on my camera. What's a good setup, like a physical setup that they can have using just their phone? Because there's microphones, some stands. What's the base?
I mean, phone, mic, tripod is like the killer combo, I would say. Like if you're shooting I always tell people, unless you have at least $2,000 to invest in a camera setup, use your iPhone. I mean, they're so good these days. It's literally in your pocket and it's conspicuous. The biggest barrier to filming yourself is no one wants to look cringe in public. No one wants to look like, oh, there's an influencer filming themselves. Like the iPhone allows you to film conspicuously, which, let's be honest, people hate cringe, and so that makes it easy. Whenever I'm filming myself with one of those cameras back there, like people watch, people are looking at me. That's just part of it.
People still look when I do like my TikTok dances.
Yeah.
Anyways,
but I think
I was hoping I was gonna have more of a pop. Never mind.
I think even investing, I think people overthink gear. I'm not a gearhead. Don't get me wrong, I nerd out, but I think the best tool is the tool that you have. And so for most people, it's the phone.
And then the use of that, I feel like is so important. Like I've had people that have worked for me that have shot videos and like the framing is all wrong. Like give me like one or two quick tips on how to make sure like even just the backdrop of the framing or like where do you put the video top to bottom, just simple skills.
Yeah, I mean, simple practical tips. Audio is everything. If your audio sucks, no one really gives a shit. You can have the most beautiful, composed image. It might look pretty, but if no one can hear you or understand you, no one really cares. So, I mean, if you're gonna invest in something, I would say invest in a really high quality mic. Lighting is the second thing, right? If you're shooting outside, try not to shoot midday. Shoot at golden hour or when the sun's low in the sky. Or if you're inside, by a window. That's where like the soft light comes in. It's really appealing. Yeah, those are some practical. Oh, and composing the rule of thirds. If you think about your phone divided into a grid, to place your subject on points on that grid, that makes it the most.
It's the most important. Making sure your head is like at the top 2/3 line. And then anything in the background, if it's gonna be there, like make it somewhat square or with a line or something along those lines. Don't make it like you want to be the subject, not the confusion behind you.
But those
OCDs go crazy.
And those are important things to learn. But what I find is most people think they have to master those things before they start creating. When in reality, it's never going to be perfect.
That explains why you don't make more videos than me.
And you just got to start,
So I told you that I don't allow people to come up here and just like talk about how cool their business is and how many hundreds of thousands of followers, which I said. You talk about this, like you're new to the entrepreneurial journey. A lot of entrepreneurs here, a lot of business owners. What's probably your number one struggle right now on the entrepreneurial journey? Like you're a you're a craftsman at your craft. You're incredibly good at telling a story, incredibly good at filmmaking, but like, what's the next level for you in the business entrepreneurship? How do you make money? Like, what's the next step?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and I'm totally transparent. Like, it has been really hard. Well, first of all, I just want to create. I'm a creator at heart. So, what in my business can I either outsource or mitigate to where I can just continue doing what I love? So that would be the biggest struggle right now. It's like now I've kind of entered into closing sales, and I do a lot of one-on-one meetings, and it's like, how can I scale to a point where I can do less of that and get more time to create and do what I love, make art. And the second thing is scaling one to many is hard. We talk about this on the podcast. A lot of people think that in influencing, whatever you want to talk, however you want to call it, having a personal brand, they think it's vanity, right? It's selfish. And I understand how people can think that. But if you're doing it for the right reasons, I think it's one of those selfless things you could do because you are giving something of yourself to a mass quantity of people. And so for me, what I'm finding is you can only scale yourself so much. And I do a lot of one-on-one, like I have a really high ticket mentorship where I help people create one-on-one. We start from the ground level and build up from there. And I have a cohort where I have, it's a 1 to a small amount of people. And so I just want to give of myself to everyone. Like I'm a relationships first kind of person. I love the intimate conversations, and that's where you really unlock creativity. I loved how what Judson was talking about, tapping into your emotions. You can't create unless you're tapping into your emotions. Unless you're introspective about yourself, you're never going to be authentic. And so getting people to do that takes some introspection. And so I love having those conversations. So I think as I grow, being okay with letting go a little bit of that is the hardest thing.
What's probably the one thing you're doing in your business right now that needs to change tomorrow?
I gotta build a team. I think that's the biggest thing. Learning to, as I've been outsourcing some of my work, bringing on an editor, bringing on an assistant, learning to let go has been hard. I'm a perfectionist, and so I want everything to be the way that I see it.
Do you use AI to build like SOPs and brand guides and
Yes.
guides? And
Yeah,
stuff like that?
I'm dipping my toes into that, and Jake's been really helpful about that, and just like shedding some light on what you guys are talking about here, and that's been a game changer. And I feel like I'm a baby when it comes to AI. And filmmakers and creators hate AI. They like everyone in my industry hates AI, and every time I talk about it, it's like we talked about at lunch today. They think I'm like using it to make videos or using it to create. And I'm like, no, I'm using it to simplify complex processes. I'm using it to simplify aspects of my business that keep me from creating.
We'll talk about it a little bit with Austin, so like cue that up and start spinning your brain up on some things. Operations guy, sales guys, business coach, which is fun. And then Mike over there, website automations, second brain type stuff. He's the man, so like definitely grab his information and chat with him. Let's see. I had some notes from earlier. Let me just jump back in. We'll go back into like the cringe or like as you level up your game of videography. There's a quote that I read was, they say being an entrepreneur is a lot. They say that being an entrepreneur is a lot like looking back at yourselves every 6 months and realizing how stupid you were, but you repeat the cycle every single 6 months. And like content creation is so similar to that. I look back at my content like 2 weeks ago, and I'm like, dude, that guy's an idiot, And I thought the video was so game changing. I have 3 views. My mom liked the video, and but like 6 months ago, and like I talked about earlier of like I did an interview with somebody, and I like was not prepared for it. I was super cocky. I'm top of the world in the social media world, in the mortgage world, young kid, and I showed up really poorly, and it comes back and haunts me like all the time because I showed up intentionally poorly. I kind of wanted to not care about this big interview that I was in, and such a huge lesson. I'm like, man, if I could go back and change that, I would. But like that is going to happen every 6-month iteration. The new technology you get, the new microphones you get, the new camera you get, the new gear you get, and so like the whole in the mortgage real estate space, like convincing people just to start shooting content is the hardest thing in the world. And I suppose it's probably similar if I were to go across this room and ask you guys all to create more content. But like the journey of starting it with the fear of how my friends are going to think and all those kind of things, like you are you to a fault. You can't change you. Your friends love you for who you are. And like you physically can't change that. It doesn't make any sense. Or they hate you for who you are. And so maybe you should change some things. But being authentically you and the ums and your speech patterns, if you're different than that, you are now not authentic. And your viewers, which your first viewer base is going to be your friends and family, are not going to like that. Or you're in the wrong friends group, which we talked about a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
But like, if you are authentic in yourself, your audience will love that. And people love authenticity.
You're 100% right, and I mean, you have to humble yourself. Like, it's just straight up. Like, I've been humiliated. I've humiliated myself on social media a lot. But you really have to find your why. And honestly, that's the biggest thing that I deal a lot with my clients is your why has to be stronger than your fear, because that fear is never going to go away. And so if you're doing this for the wrong reasons, you will fail every single time. If you're doing it for the views, if you're doing it for the likes, if you're doing it, I don't know, a lot of people that I deal with, they want the brand deals, right? They think that's going to be their ticket. It's like, if you're doing it for that, you're not going to last. And frankly, I'm probably not going to want to work with you, because I can sense it too. My why, and I truly believe every person has a set of gifts, and that's a whole other conversation of how you tap into those gifts, how you find those gifts. I know that my gifts, after a lot of time and consideration, my gifts, I'm a creative at heart, so something about me is I'm going to create. If money was out of the equation, I'm going to create. And I also know that I have the gift of articulating and leading by example. And so I would be doing myself a disservice if I didn't use those gifts. That is my why. And so when it's cringy, when I get the fear, my why overpowers that fear. And so that's what I mean when I say creators need to be really introspective, is you got to ask yourself why you're doing this.
And that is kind of goes into a point that, like you said, you said something and now it's gone. That's okay. So you said a different word, but like, you are basically selfish if you don't share what is laid on your heart to share. Like, I look around this room and like, there are a lot of you that have knowledge in a space, specific knowledge that people don't have. And by not sharing on social media because of the way you look, and my hair's not perfect, and I'm not wearing the right clothes, I don't have the right lighting, I don't have the right camera, I gotta hire somebody for this, but I need to, I have a small business, so I need to save up some money before I hire a videographer. By creating all of those hurdles, one, it means you probably don't really want to share your message. Otherwise, you would find a way to do it. You would just share the message. But it's kind of a selfish act to save that. So I'm being in the mortgage space. Like, I used to say this to realtors and mortgage lenders all the time. Like, your knowledge helps people build generational wealth for their family. And it is absolutely a shame if you don't share it. And if just one person sees that and is inspired to go build wealth through real estate and change their life for literally ever and generationally, then it's a shame that you're not sharing. Because it's knowledge that only you know, and you can share the simplest version of it, which goes into kind of becoming a coach and sharing stuff that maybe you shouldn't be sharing. My early kind of thought process that I had was like, I don't want to be that 20-year-old life coach that is teaching people how to have good marriages when I've never even had a girlfriend, right? Like, that doesn't make any sense. How can you be a life coach without the experience? And so coaching the things that you can speak to, in mortgage and real estate, I relate back to this because it's the easiest for me, but sharing even the most simple things, like how to read a loan estimate. What is a loan estimate? What are these fees? What does an appraiser do? Something, the most simple terms that are pretty well understood by probably most people that have seen anything to do with real estate, but being able just to share that and articulate it and get that rep in on a super simple level. My worst videos that I've ever done is something where it's like, I see a subject, I know about the subject, but I'm definitely not a master at it, and then I try to go and rip off and duplicate that video, and I'm talking about something I have no idea, and then I look back 6 months, I'm like, dude, that's not even accurate. Like, that's not even real information. And there's nothing against doing that, but bringing them on the journey rather than coaching is what the storytelling would say.
And I always say, you can only teach what you know. Like, you can only teach and share your insight into what you truly know. Like, I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm this big business coach, because that's the skill that I'm learning now, right? But I can tell a damn good story, and I can make a really beautiful video and make you feel a certain way through that. And so that's what I'm teaching right now. Maybe years down the road, when I have success in something else, I'll be able to share that insight. But a lot of people think that since they're not the best, they're not the ultimate authority at their specific skill, that they don't deserve to share insight on it. And it's like, just because you have a little bit of expertise, you're by definition an authority. You might not be the ultimate authority, but you have authority to share.
Who found this helpful so far? Who's on a journey right now that you are trying to ultimately find your voice to share on social media? 3 or 4 of you. 100%. For those of you that want to basically have an opportunity to help find that voice, Bennett was willing to do a little bit of a giveaway of his time. And so I have a challenge for you. For those that raise your hand, first one to follow him on Instagram at Bennett Looper gets a free half hour with Bennett to go over your story and how to create that. You have to hold your phone up and know that you have that. That's cheating.
Just kidding.
2 N's, 2 T's, baby.
Two.
Oh.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I
So
spelled
fast.
Bennett, 2 N's, 2 T's.
Contact Bennett afterwards and he'll help you. Set up
hear
time
from
to-
What if you were there like 15,000?
And yeah, thank you for coming and pouring into the community. I think he's gonna stick around for a little bit if you guys. I would recommend like even just sitting down with him right now or after the next speaker and shoot a video with him and try to tell a story. Like that would be a really fun activity. I think he's game for that. He's got camera equipment. He can probably send it to you or shoot it on your phone. But like use this opportunity to learn, get closer to him, and get that depth of relationship that Anwar was talking about. Like enrich that data by being a real human being and asking legitimate questions that help propel your business forward. So huge round of applause for Ben, dude. Thank you so much for that.
Thanks, guys.
I know he is. Yeah, I know he Patrick is.
I'll let you guys ask questions, and I know there's a couple over here, but does anybody have any questions for
Bennett.
Mike? Let's go.
It's rolling, yeah.
Okay.
Austin, report first, and then I'll jump in.
Sorry.
So, my name's
I have one chance.
Austin Report. I also do a lot of social media content myself. And one of the issues, I guess, as I was growing my page was receiving like hate comments. A lot of people DMing me, commenting me and stuff like that, saying like, oh, your mic sucks, your haircut sucks, something like that, right? And you just kind of keep getting that like from people, like random people, right? So I was wondering, as you've grown your page to 100,000 followers, like how have you dealt with the hate comments?
First off, did your mic suck?
Well, initially it did, but then I bought my DJI mic, and then after that, everything was.
Did your haircut suck?
Yeah.
Your hair's
right now,
pretty good, bro.
Yeah, no, that's great. I asked that because like part of this, which I hope you'll answer a little bit more in depth, is that critiques, especially on social media, there's no fear that they're going to be judged for asking that question because there's like it doesn't matter. They have no repercussions for asking questions or being a dick. But sometimes if you get like that feeling that you get is a lot of what Judson was talking about, the ego. Like whether you mean to be egotistical or not, it hurts your ego. And that's a tool to be used. And so like being able to shed that off isn't really just ignoring and all this can't things. Like you can take that as information, and when you're reading it in text, you don't know how they're saying it, why they're saying it. Like it could be the nicest person in the world saying, "Hey man, your mic sucks," but we read it like, "Dude, your mic sucks, you suck." Right? It's like, and so it's like take that for a grain of salt, the way they deliver it and how they deliver it, all things aside. But like it inspired you to get a new microphone, probably. So realistically, it was constructive criticism.
Yeah,
So that's my thought. But Ben has way more
I mean, I was
comments than me.
gonna say essentially that I think there's two tiers to it. The first tier is like if it's practical. If I'm always looking for ways to improve, I was a very insecure kid growing up, and I think a lot of that stems from pride and ego, And so when I first started receiving, I don't even know if I would call them hate comments, but just negative comments, I took them personally, and I think now my mindset has changed. Like I was just having a conversation, like if I love being in rooms like this because I'm the least experienced in a lot of ways, and if I'm the most experienced and the most successful person in the room, I'm in the wrong room, and so I'm always looking for areas to improve. And so if there's an element of practicality, like hey, your mic sucks, damn, maybe it does, and then I take that as data to make better decisions going forward. But then the second thing is, honestly, it is a huge exercise in self-security. My skin has gotten so much thicker through being vulnerable on social media, and that is a trait that every successful person needs to have, right? Because if you take everything to heart and kind of like curl up in your ball and are like, damn, and just kind of take it to heart, you're not going to get anywhere. And kind of just learning to take it on the chin and take the good stuff as data, but then see the other stuff and think, it's working. Did you ever follow up?
Yeah, I was just gonna say like, some of the comments are not even, constructive. It's just something that they just to get attention really.
I love, how many, do you have a sizable audience? Like how many do you have?
Almost 40,000.
Yeah, bro.
In a year.
Your community, I will tell you this, your community will rally behind you. I love when people comment negative comments on my post because I will leave that up and I'll be like, all right guys, go get them. I'm like,
You should rage bait him by creating a video. This now, just in Austin, some douchebag commented this,
yeah.
and he thinks he's right. What do you guys think? And then create content off of that. That would be hilarious.
So right now, to rage bait them. I sometimes like mispronounce something, even though I know I'm like, mispronouncing.
That's smart.
It drives them crazy.
I love that, bro. I love that.
And then you get more comments. which is
And then
more
you get more.
Dude, at the end of the day, negative attention is still attention. So it's like the person that wore the boot in high school for like, 12 weeks. It's like, do you really need it for all 12 weeks? It's like negative attention is still attention.
What you got?
I'm Pablo. This is kind of like a filmmaking kind of like asking a question. Did you have the same process when you do client work, whenever you work with clients and when you do your personal content? I'm a videographer as well, and one of my biggest, I guess, like things to overcome is like don't utilize the same process that I use with my clients because I feel like I spend in so much time trying to create something for myself that way. Because I guess I don't see the benefit. Like nobody's paying me to do my stuff. I know how to do it really nice and artsy, but it takes me probably 3 times longer than what it takes to do it like probably shoot an auto and roll it. So how do you overcome that? I don't know if you have the same issue or you ever experienced.
No, for sure. And it's funny, you're a filmmaker. As a filmmaker, we are the worst when it comes to overthinking because we have the best taste. We have the highest standard because we know what looks good, right? We know we work our asses off for these client projects with all the sound design, with the 17 layers of music and effects and all these like color grading effects. We know we can do that, and so when it comes time to our own personal projects, it's like if we're not doing that, we think we're failing. And so I think for me, understanding that, first of all, it's social media, it ain't that deep, right? No one's watching this on Netflix. It's just how it is. But being okay, imperfect is okay, and it's still done, right? As long as it's done and as long as it's out there, that's good. And another thing is, whenever I'm approaching the process for my personal content, right? I'm pretty much out of filmmaking now, right? I don't have any more clients, but I always thought about how I scrolled social media, right? And I would look at a post for 30 seconds max, and I would never think about it for the rest of my life. And so I think that unless it was extremely impactful, but if I came across a post where I was like, oh, his audio was a little bad, or oh, like I didn't think about it again. And so I think I took solace in that, where it was like, hey, it might be imperfect to my eyes, but it's still done, and we're gonna get it out there, and then it's just volume. We're gonna get back to the next one. I don't know if that answered your question.
Yeah, I guess I have a follow up on that one. Is that the same approach if you do long form for short form? Or that apply more to the short form Instagram, TikTok type of content? Or whenever you do like a YouTube video, you will spend a little bit more time trying to figure out like.
I think long form, just by nature, takes a little bit longer. I've almost let go a little bit more of perfectionism when it comes to my long form because I realized that people really just wanted to hear me. They really just wanted to hear me talk. And I did most of my job when I worked at my previous job was all long form, right? I would shoot, produce, edit, documentary style work. And so when it came to YouTube, I kept thinking, man, I have to have this big ass production. I have to have this script. I have to light everything. I have to make it look all good. But when I think about how I consume YouTube, I don't really give a shit, right? Like I just want to do my laundry and listen to someone yap and get entertained that way. And so when I think about it from the perspective of how I consume content, it doesn't make me want to lower the production value, but it makes me realize it's really not that deep, right? It is deep, right? It is an impactful way to convey a message, but in terms of the production quality, it helps me overthink it less.
Thank you.
Any other one more super short question?
I'm gonna turn this into a question into a compliment. When you're looking at someone's Instagram, how far are you scrolling down past their top 9 photos?
Hardly ever.
So to put on the fact that you guys talked earlier, that's really cool. It's not deep. It's the fact that what you posted 2 weeks ago, no one gives a shit. What I'm gonna see on your Instagram today and what you posted the last 9, tie it back in. I just wanted to that was really cool. So
Yeah.
that was my question is I don't look at people. I look at their bio, the last couple of things, their stories, and if I like it, I'm intrigued, I follow.
And I don't know if it's just the Instagram algorithm. I am not, he didn't even touch on this. I'm anti-viral. I don't think you should try to go viral. Yes, play the game sometimes, but over the course of time, your content will generate the right people. but Instagram has been feeding me certain individuals, and I don't follow them. But they'll pop up on my feed, and I'll like the video, and if I like their personality, and I'll just see video after video after video, and then I'm like, you know what, I kind of like them. I'm gonna follow them. But the majority of the time, what makes me follow is not the production quality; it's who they are as a person, right? How they come in.
Interactions.
Exactly.
The times you interact with someone is really a true sale of whether or not you want to be around them or not.
Yeah, and I feel like I know them. That's another thing. And they can only know you if you're authentic.
It's like when my mom was always scared of you bring guests over to the house and they run through your house like you didn't make your bed. It's like the same thing with this guy. I scroll down 2 years like, oh dude, that's so amazing. I can't believe you posted that.
I've had the same Instagram since I started in 2012, I think, or 2013, or whenever Instagram came out. So if you scroll down, bro, it's all there. That's embarrassing. Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
It is.
We're way over time at this point, so we're gonna jump into Austin here real quick. But it was so good. I mean, instantly. If you guys have one more question, just grab it afterward if you could.